What up, friends? My state is on fire, and today we're going to be reviewing the newest Joywave album, Possession. Joywave are returning after pleasing everyone with their last album Content in 2017. Joywave is a silly band. They're satirical, tongue-in-cheek, and not afraid to mix these things about themselves with more serious subject matter. I actually think this is done best here on their newest album, which is very consistent, tight musically, and often dark and somber in a pretty humorous way. An operatic Queen-esque ballad opens up the album with Like a Kennedy to pretty great effect. The somber piano and isolated vocals before the main instrumental kicks in is a really elegant and powerful touch, I find. Even in the first verse, with the very simplistic beat and elegant piano passages, it's pretty heartfelt. The build-up in general is what makes this song so great, and the pining and melancholic vocals are a great contrast to how bombastic this song becomes at the end. This is especially prevalent when the strings and background vocals start coming into the track. This pining is also present in the lyrics, which tackles some kind of controversial topics like Trump's border wall, immigration, fear-mongering in general on the news, and just everything else that's going on through social media as well. The song addresses how desperate this is, and how consuming all of this stuff at once is really not good for people's mental health. It also kind of pokes fun at American society as well, how a president can literally be assassinated and no real reform or change comes out of it. Coming Apart has sort of the electronic indie rock vibes that Joywave is well known for. I do like this sinister guitar picking and how nonchalantly the vocals are delivered. The danceable chorus and the smooth bass line during the verses is also really well done. The nihilistic energy in the lyrics also really gives a sense of hopelessness that a lot of people are feeling with everything that's going on in the world today. It's a nice portrait with a soundtrack behind it on just kind of the common plight of everyone right now. Half Your Age, however, is probably one of the weaker songs on the album, I think. There's nothing terribly bad about it or anything, but the instrumental just overall feels a little too light for my liking, and it also comes off a bit repetitive here and there. The standard indie rock-styled guitar passages, along with the sort of awkward synth, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't really pair together all that well. However, I do like the lyrics and the message that it's trying to convey, how it has this sort of fear of failure and how people often just leave problems for the next generation to fix, even when they're the generation that caused the problems to begin with. Like, that's not a good mindset, and I like how they address that. Like, the young people should not fix your problems. Obsession, however, is great. The funk rock instrumental is super fun, especially when the samples are sprinkled in here and there. The bouncy bass is a fantastic presence, and the sort of Franz Ferdinand-styled guitar passages really have a playful tone. In similar Joywave fashion, there's a very satirical tone in the lyrics, how people are trying to get their fix on a bunch of just random things that they obsess over to kind of distract themselves from problems that are going on in the real world. It's a very relatable sentiment, but bluntly calling it an obsession is very funny to me. Blank Slate is another dark tune, immediately apparent from the sort of muffled vocals in the intro and the desperation in the lyrics, too. It's almost, like, seductive, in a way, which really fits these hypnotic keys in the background along with the sort of low-key bass and guitar throughout the song. This atmosphere is pretty fitting for lyrics about basically completely giving yourself to someone in a desperate attempt to feel loved and accepted. It's pretty scary. F.E.A.R also has a sort of Franz Ferdinand vibe to it. It reminds me of their song Evil Eye, actually. This sort of over-the-top horror aesthetic to the tune really fits the pumping bass, the twinkling keys, and the sort of dry delivery on the vocals as well. The message is pretty simple, talking about how you're basically controlled by your fear and it prevents you from taking risks, but I feel like the simplicity is pretty effective in how the song is delivered, and the atmosphere of the instrumental actually makes up for the lack of intricacy in the lyrics, I suppose. It's very direct, but it works. The uneasiness of who owns who is fantastic. The deep bass, the twangy guitar, and the sudden inflections in the vocals are really nice to hear. And I love the way the synth sort of accentuates these aspects of the instrumental, and it creates this sort of dark beauty. It's a pretty impressive touch. The lyrics are a bit repetitive, but unlike Half Your Age, I feel like it actually works to this track's benefit. It adds even more unease to lyrics that appear to be about how people's obsessive compulsions to one-up each other and be on top of others have negative consequences in the end. Also about people's obsessions to have others under them that they can control. Possession, the title track, is another one of my favorites. It's a bit similar to Blank Slate actually, but a bit more melancholic as well. The full combo of the drums and bass add to that haunting vibe, while the guitar work adds to the falsetto during the chorus. I also love how they isolate the guitar and the vocals at the end of the chorus during the Am I a Letdown part. It adds a really nice effect. It also puts a lot of emphasis, which I think is what the track wants. It's about sort of giving yourself to a person like in Blank Slate, although instead of trying to feel like love and connection, I feel like this one just comes from a place of hopelessness and in an attempt to feel anything at all, which weirdly makes it even more depressing. Mr. Eastman ends the album, and what a fantastic closer it is. The punch of the low-key opening bass is so good, and when the guitar comes in, mwah, I just love how enigmatic and ethereal this track sounds. It's not exactly sad, but it's also not exactly empowering either. I love the beeps and boops that are thrown in, along with the random vocal inflections. They had a lot of variety. The horns that come in during the halfway mark are a really nice touch, and the bridge of this song is probably one of my favorite moments on the entire album. The light delivery of the vocals and the instrumental switch is pulled off so well. The lyrics are also pretty interesting, and I can kind of gather a few different messages from this one. One being that, like, we're told that we can be anything, we can be different, and we can stand out. However, we're also told not to draw too much attention to ourselves. It's rude to sort of make everything all about us. I also get, however, that maybe our culture inspires us to just take what we want from others and surround ourselves with a group of yes men who will never question our decisions, so we always appear that we're in the right even when we're wrong. I mean, it's a pretty layered track. I guess it's all up to interpretation, but those are some of my thoughts at least. Overall, this was a very solid album by Joywave, probably their best yet, to be honest. It's consistent while also keeping enough variety to be interesting, too. Some tracks, however, do lack a bit of the oomph that others might have, or are a bit too repetitive or simple lyrically. This is mainly in tracks like Half Your Age, or some of the other ones that I didn't cover really in this review, like Blast Off, Funny Thing About Opinions, and No Shoulder. Overall, though, very solid, and I do love how they can still keep up the humor and wit even while talking about such dark subject matter as they were on this album. Overall, I'm feeling a strong 8 for Joywave's Possession. Very good. Of course, we'd have to talk about the album cover on this show, and there's not much of an album cover to begin with. It's mostly just a golden disc. For the CD, it's just the CD is gold, and just Joywave or Possession, I forget which one, is just written all in the background. And then I think that's pretty much the same for the vinyl as well. It's just white with the golden record. But it's very effective. It looks very nice. White and gold is a good color combination. I think it draws your eye into inquiring more because it doesn't tell you enough exactly of what the album is about. But it does get the job done of getting your attention. And in a way, that's kind of what some of the lyrics on the album are about to begin with. So I think it was pretty well done for how simple it was. But those are my thoughts on Joywave's Possession. What did you guys think about it? Did you also think it was their best album? Did you like some of their prior ones more? Let me know. But until the next one, farewell.